On 27th August 1976, the rugby world was gifted with the birth of Benjamin Ayimba. And his story started to unfold. A simple boy who was destined to transform Kenyan rugby had been born. In his early childhood development, he attended Olympic Primary School, and in a very competitive academic environment, Bulldog, as he was called by his friends, sat for the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education in 1990.
I know then Olympic Primary, there was no much, especially around sports. Ilikuwa tu ni masomo. And this was the classroom where Benjamin, when he sat for his class 8, the style of the school was at class 7, you find their streams, but once you get to class 8, it used to be a consolidated class. So you'd find all the class 8s would be on this block.
A quick-witted young index number 13 was destined to star. It is here in Nairobi County, Kibra, Ruben to be specific, that the young Ayimba will start his life. This is the flat that it all began for Ayimba. In a family of 9 siblings, life had its fair share of challenges, but his elder brother, Victor Ayimba, and his then neighbors made merry and enjoyed growing up.
When we were small, we were staying in the top floor, so when you went to come to hook up and do games, you had to go down the stairs. He was small, he couldn't do it, so I would prefer to carry him all the way down, but he was uncomfortable. He said, I can do it myself. I can do it myself. Sometimes we're in the house, maybe with him, and you're maybe doing whatever it is you're doing. He wants to get out, he can't reach the handle, so let me just help him to cut out the handle. As young as he was, I can do it myself. He goes to the kitchen, takes tools that people cook with, he brings it to the door, puts it there, climbs the stool, opens the door. Oh, so I knew he could do it. I tell him, I knew he could do it. I would think he would pick up tennis, but he picked up something else. So I think when he came back to the house, as he was going to school now, I think that rang in his mind. Because he couldn't play soccer with us. You just know benches. I mean, yeah, so he could maybe sometimes step on people's feet and fall a lot. So I told him, you just relax. Play soccer, kidogo, but just relax. So I think for me, I realized maybe the soccer was not his sport. But as he grew up, I knew he'd get something that he liked. So of course, I thought maybe basketball, but he ended up playing rugby.
This is where we grew up. Back then, it was known as the KQ Flats. And, well, we have lots of memories here. Of course, the place has changed, but we had a lot of fun. I just remember back in the day when we had games from 8 in the morning till 4 o'clock. And the best part was when we were just trying to be competitive with the boys. And it was very, well, it was difficult to win against the boys, especially when Benja was on the team. Of course, us girls were a bit cunning. We were really cunning, and and Benja found a way to make sure that our cunning nature is put in check. We played stuff like British Bulldog. Don't ask me to explain what that is, but yeah, it was a mini rugby and more like a touch rugby, but for kids. And woe unto you if you are his target. We actually got a nickname for him. We called him Bulldog because of the game, and that was pretty fun.
The multi-talented Ayimba, who tried his hands and legs in nearly all sports while at Olympic Primary School without making the cut, would then join Maseno School, and this is where his rugby career started. And the man behind the start of the success story is Milton Nyagaga, former teacher who, as the games master, doubled up to be the rugby coach at Maseno School in the early 1990s.
Benjamin was a serious sportsman, was very good in short races, athletic short races, 100 meters and 200 meters. And his liking now ended up being in rugby, where he was in the line. He was the type of person who would always be the first person in the pitch when people leave class. So you'd find that he would always be very fast and organize things which were required for any training, for any training period.
Kisumu FC was also being formed at the same time in 1991, Kisumu Rugby Club. But being the rugby back then, there wasn't so many adults who played rugby around. So the few players like Kisumu FC were struggling with numbers, so they would, whenever they had friendly matches, they would beef up the squad, and there's few of us in school who had guts to play with adults. Others were scared. So they used to get me from Boys High School and a few of my schoolmates. Benja, they used to poach him from Maseno High School, and then Vincent Makanga from Yangori up the hill. And that's how we started building our friendship. The few times we played together for Somali FC. We then finished school. He joined Impala. I come to Nairobi for my tertiary studies. I joined Mwamba. We meet on the pitch again. And around the same year, 97, now when I joined Mwamba, he had been joining Impala a few years earlier. We then meet in Kenya team. And in the Kenya team, during registration, Nini, we took a miles, and you realize that, so we realized we were born same year, 1976. Me, I'm born 23rd August 76. He's born 27th August 76. And we all come from a level. So that it created a special bond between us, and we immediately struck on a friendship with him. He was our captain in the national team for the many years together we were there, and even we jointly pushed for a lot of initiatives for reforms at the Kenya Rugby Union. Because then, at some point in 2001, I then left to go play rugby in South Africa. When I came back, he said, "Sawa, ulifia umenichora." He also, when I came back, I think the following year, he also left for UK with Oscar Osir to go play for Penance Pirates. Then they would come back into 5 and regroup again. And because of our shared ideology, and we believe that because we had all traveled the world thanks to rugby, playing the international rugby for Kenya, we had a bit of a different idea of how rugby needs to develop.
Benja alikuwa mtulivu sana, alikuwa a gentleman toka akiwa mtoto. Alikuwa anapenda watu. Hata hii kucheza rugby alikuwa anacheza kwa sababu kuna wakati nilimuuliza, nataka kujua hii mchezo mtu mmoja akifika mpira na wengine wote wanamwangukia inaitwa nini? Akaniambia, mama, unajua hata mimi sijui, lakini umeniambia nitaenda kuuliza marafiki zangu na inaitwaje. Na hiyo mchezo nilikuwa napenda kabisa. Sasa akasema, mama, ngoja nitaenda kuuliza nikijua ni mchezo gani. Na hiyo ndio inakupatia raha. Nitajaribu nitafute vile ndani. Nilimsupport sana. Mimi hawa watoto wangu kila kitu ile mtu alikuwa anataka kufanya nilikuwa na support. Ndio ifanye to the best.
Fresh after his high school days in Maseno, Ayimba enjoyed a stellar playing career in the back row at Impala RFC, the club that he joined in 1995. He eventually captained Impala to 2 Kenya Cup League titles and Enterprise doubles in 2000 and 2001. He also led the side to 3 National 7 circuit titles in 1999, 2000 and 2001. Ayimba would also have stints at Record Kenya Champions Nondescripts in 2002, and together with his close friend Oscar Osir, played for English side Cronish Pirates between 2003 and 2005.
So Dickie was, of course, impressed with Benja's rugby ethics and his ability, and invited him to play in Cornwall. But as perhaps lucky for me, at the time in 2003, I was a top try scorer, I think, in RB. I was the leading try scorer in the RB series. So Dickie asked Benjamin to get me to move to Nondis, then go for this professional contract. Knowing our relationship with Benja, of course, and how upset I was for him moving to Nondis, I was not going to do that. I said, I'm not going to come to Nondis, but he told me, you have an opportunity to play professional rugby. And he did convince Dickie to take me to Cornish Pirates, even though I was not a non-dis player. So that was the first part from this side. When we got there, it was of course shall I say a shocker. We went there in October. October here is just the beginning of our short rains. It was pretty cold when we went there. For the forwards where Benja plays, which is the forwards play, it was easier because they could stay warm. I was in the backs at the time, so it was very cold for me. And but he was boisterous to a level where to whisper to him when we went home, but like keep it down, because you're exposing us, But he was determined. We can achieve it. We are better than these people. We can do that. And to be fair, perhaps one of those people, friends that Benja had, who first of all hesitated before believing in what he was believing, but he played very well when we were there. It was unfortunate because at the time we were also playing for Kenya, so we kept coming back and forth. And in professional sport, when you play for your country and you come back, you have to really fight hard to get that position. So it was a huge challenge, especially for him, because in the forwards are very, the English game is a lot more forwards play, because he was so dynamic in his game. Also, that helped because now he was unique compared to the other forward.
Capped for Kenya in the 7s and 15s versions of the game between 1997 and 2006, Ayimba featured for Kenya 7s at the 1998, 2002 and 2006 Commonwealth Games, as well as 2001 and 2005 Rugby World Cup 7s tournaments in Argentina and Hong Kong respectively. After briefly coaching the Kenya 15s, he will then take up the Kenya 7s coaching job between 2006 and 2011. He steered the side to a first ever World Series finals in 2009 in Adelaide before writing another history by guiding Shujaa to the first ever Rugby World Cup 7 semi-finals in the same year in Dubai.
We left here saying, Benja saying, well, we're going to win the World Cup. The usual again, as usual, was Benja. We were determined that our preparations were good and we could sneak in based on the pool. But of course, we had no idea what that meant. But Benja had already, he declared it here. The records will show that Kenya is going to win the World Cup. And that was quite something. So to be part of that journey with him, that for me was also very special.
Returning for a second tour of duty as head tactician in 2015, Ayimba led the team to a maiden appearance at the 2016 Olympics in Rio, Brazil, as well as the first World Series title triumph when Kenya beat Fiji 37 in the 2016 Singapore Sevens finals. The Kenya Rugby Union boss at that time was Richard Omwela.
So for me, having just returned to the union, remember I had left the union and came back in 2013. For me, I believe that Benja had what it took, it needed to cross that line, because you needed a coach who was daring, a coach who was ambitious, a coach who was a no-nonsense guy in terms of the discipline on the pitch. And most of the board members didn't want him back because they felt that he was uncontrollable, so to speak. I mean, he would take a decision and he didn't want to be questioned about it. But for me, I felt that that is the sort of coach you want, a daredevil kind of person who you believe that he can take you to where you want to go. A coach who believed in his players. I do recall that Benja is one of those coaches, however good you are as a player, if you're not playing according to the game plan, he'll take you off. Whether you are Humphrey Kayange, whether you are Collins Injera, whoever you are. And that is the sort of coach I believed in, because when you leave the dressing room, you have a plan, depending on who you're playing. And Benja had always a plan. So if you disrupted the plan, he'll take you, no matter who you are. And that is the pride I thought I needed in somebody who can change that team. And I was very happy to stand by his side and believe in him. And that belief, I believe, is what set him free now, because he was now able to pick the team he wanted without board interference. He was able to get the orders across on the team without interference. And that's how we got our victory in 2016.
Well, you guys absolutely killed us in the final. And I could see from the start that there was a skip in the Kenyan step that we just couldn't match. And afterwards, it was probably the happiest, if that's possible, that you can feel losing a final, because I knew how much it meant to the team, to the nation, and also to Benja. And afterwards in the changing rooms, both teams were together, we sang together, prayed together, and hung out together. And it's one of those memories that I'll never forget, really. Putting my arm around him, giving him a hug, and seeing that massive smile come back.
Loved this country very much, was committed to development of rugby in this country, believed that Kenya should be a world rugby superpower. And we also what he did in Singapore with very kidogo resources, not like the Odieros were there before, were being paid more than double what he was earning, and he delivered, you know. And it's unfortunate that it then got bogged down by the poor systems and wrangles at the union, and they had to let that part with at some point. For me, that was a big loss for the country.
Arguably, the best Kenya Sevens rugby coach that the country has ever had, but sadly, one that the union was easy to let go.
The issue was that the first people they came from Singapore were given money, but some officials deducted for administration purposes. So I think the office had debts to pay, so this part of the government to pay debts. Benja was not happy. It was like a quick. I mean, they're paying me much less than what they're paying those Odieros. Those Odieros never brought anything. I mean, the little that I brought for the players, pure nakata. So then by the time now they're going to be prepping for Rio in negotiation with the government, where he went to the list of the players and give the account numbers, say pay the money direct to the players, don't send to the union. Of course the union got annoyed with him. So that's when they had a relationship. But I was like, that's very cheap. Just to disagree on some small money that has gone to the players, really, I would have changed things, renegotiated with him and kept him going on in the debate. So the union officials really messed up, and that is a very big missed opportunity for everyone.
Benja still had so much in him to give to the country and to the team. He now understood our style of play. When you look about teams like Fiji have a pattern of play. You look at a team like Samoa, they have a way of playing. You look at South Africa, they have a pattern of playing. And Benja had now mastered the art of Kenya rugby in the sense of knowing how do you get the best out of the Kenya team. And for me, I would have loved to see him continuing to coach, because he now understood how Kenya play, and he understood the players. There are some players that he'll take on the pitch for a couple of seconds, and you ask him, why did you take him on for a couple of seconds? He says, yes, so-and-so is a finisher. He'll tell you, he'll run those guys rugged in the last 2 minutes. So you wondered why he would do that, but that was Benja for you.
A number of Kenya rugby players literally owes it to Benjamin Ayimba, who turned them into the stars they are.
A piece of our lives is gone, and Benja played a huge role, whether it was at the national team or at the clubs. If you ever played and coached under Benja or just met him, you will know he'll be there. He would mince his words. Benja will be there pushing you guys to go out and achieve. And for Kenya rugby as a whole, we've lost a son. I mean, we've lost somebody who cannot be replaced.
So our tears, we are saying it's still doing press-ups and warm-ups.
It's never easy to lose someone that you love.
No, it never is. But then again, that's life, you know. We are here passing our spirits, spend our time on earth, do what you have to do, but ultimately at the end of the day, we all come and go, you know. But him to have achieved all those things by the age of 44 is sheer world-class magic.
We lived together. We would court our spouses together. You know, he was that close to me. You know, when we're young men with nothing to fear, fearless with the exuberance of youth, up to the time when our hairs were graying and we were still, you know, young at heart. It's tough even to speak about him in past tense and talk about, you know, that he's gone. I've learned also to appreciate him as a person beyond the rugby environment. I've learned to appreciate him as a person beyond his strength. Physically, he was a strong man. It's no doubt.
After dancing with the rugby kings and positioning Kenya amongst the rugby bigwigs and the only other nation in Africa besides South Africa to have won a World Series, others believe more would have, should have, and needs to be done for the fallen legend.
This is a person that we revere in our rugby. I mean, when the history of rugby is written, Benja's name will be all over it. From the time he started playing in 1995 to the time he coached, his name will be all over. He's not somebody we're going to forget easily. Of course, we've had great players like Jackson Omaido, Wycliffe Mukulu, but Benja has not just been a player. He's been a player, he's been a captain, he's been a coach. Name it, he's done it. Why can't we name a series after him so that people can continue with that legacy of the person who brought the first ever 7 Series Cup to not just to Kenya, but away from South Africa to Africa.
Away from the Kenya Sevens, Ayimba had coaching stints at Homeboys RFC, Mean Machine and Kenya Harlequins, where he served as their